Welcome to another episode of our Mandatory Mental Liberation series, produced by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin, for this new episode titled, What Black Friday and Blackout Friday Actually Means to Our Melanin-Rich Culture Families. The necessity of the Mandatory Mental Liberation series at Majestic Mind Matters University lies in our focus on serving our melanin-rich culture communities. By addressing the importance of knowledge of self to produce greater self-awareness and advocating for our mental liberation, but especially in our melanin-rich culture children, our messages aims to combat the enduring effects of generational mental enslavement stemming from the historical trauma of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. Our initiative seeks to empower us to break free from these harmful and unfavorable legacies and cultivate a deep-rooted sense of self-identity and unwavering resilience. In this episode, the term Black will be used in reference to our melanin-rich people to only express the importance of understanding the mindset of society at that time in history compared to our melanin-rich culture mindset today. Our people who read or even listen to podcasts, just like these produced by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, the founder of Majestic Mind Matters University in the Mandatory Mental Liberation series messages, are melanin-rich culture individuals who are seeking more understanding and knowledge of self for true spiritual empowerment. Black Friday has become synonymous with consumerism and the frenzy of holiday shopping, with retailers offering deep discounts and deals to lure in customers. However, the origins of Black Friday have a much darker history that is often overlooked: the chattel enslavement of the ancestors and the exploitation of their labor. The term Black Friday originally referred to the practice of selling our enslaved ancestors at a discounted price on the day after Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, the ancestors would entertain and perform various acts of showmanship for the enslavers, their families, and guests. Whenever an ancestor was not performing their best, they would be sold off, without any consideration for the separation and destruction of our ancestors' families. In the American South, enslaved melanin-rich culture people were often sold at auctions, much like commodities, and the day after Thanksgiving was a busy time for these sales. Our enslaved ancestors were viewed as property rather than human beings and were bought and sold like any other goods, products, or services. In recent years, there has been a growing movement again towards supporting melanin-rich culture-owned businesses, particularly on Fridays. This movement, known as Blackout Friday or Black Friday, aims to highlight and promote the economic empowerment of our melanin-rich culture communities. While the concept of supporting Black-owned businesses is not new, the focus on making a concerted effort to do so on each Friday has gained traction and support from our melanin-rich culture community. The importance of supporting our melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays cannot be overstated. Our businesses play a crucial role in promoting economic growth and development within our melanin-rich culture communities. By supporting these businesses, we are not only investing in the success of our melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs, but also contributing to the overall economic well-being of our communities. One of the key reasons why it is important to support melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays is to address the issue of economic inequality. Studies have shown that our melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs face significant barriers to accessing capital and financing compared to our white counterparts. This lack of access to funding can hinder the growth and success of our melanin-rich culture-owned businesses, limiting the ability for us to create jobs and contribute to the melanin-rich culture economy. By supporting any melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays, individuals can help level the playing field and provide our melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs with the financial support needed to succeed. This, in turn, will lead to greater economic opportunities for our melanin-rich culture communities, as well as increased wealth and prosperity for us as well. Additionally, supporting our melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays helps to promote representation in the business world. Many industries are dominated by white-owned businesses, which has limited opportunities for our melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs to succeed. By actively supporting melanin-rich culture-owned businesses, create greater melanin-rich culture business environments, ensuring that our entrepreneurs have the chance to thrive. Furthermore, supporting any melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays will help to combat systemic racism and discrimination. Black-owned businesses have historically faced challenges and obstacles that are rooted in racism and inequality. By patronizing these businesses and showing support for melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs, we can help to break down these barriers and promote a more equal and just society for us as well. In addition to the economic and social benefits, supporting any melanin-rich culture-owned business on Fridays helps to build a sense of community and solidarity within our melanin-rich culture community. By coming together to support melanin-rich culture entrepreneurs, we create a sense of unity and empowerment that strengthens our communities and make them more resilient in the face of adversity. Overall, the importance of supporting our melanin-rich culture-owned businesses on Fridays cannot be overstated. By doing so, we help to address economic inequality, promote representation, combat systemic racism, and build a stronger sense of community within our melanin-rich culture. In a society where racial and economic disparities persist, it is essential for us to take action and support businesses that are owned and operated by us. This not only benefits the entrepreneurs themselves, but also contributes to the overall well-being and success of our melanin-rich culture communities. By making a conscious effort to support our melanin-rich culture-owned businesses each and every Friday, we help to create a more just and equitable society for us as well. The buying and selling of our enslaved ancestors were central to the economy of the United States in the 18th and 19th centuries. Our enslaved ancestors were forced to work on plantations, in mines, sex farms, and in other industries, often under brutal and inhumane conditions. The profits from the labor of our enslaved ancestors fueled the growth of the American economy and contributed to the wealth of many white Americans. The unfavorable legacy of chattel enslavement continues to impact our melanin-rich culture communities today. The systemic racism and discrimination that were built on the backs of our enslaved ancestors has persisted through generations, creating barriers to economic and social mobility for us. The wealth gap between us and white Americans can be directly traced back to the exploitation of our enslaved ancestors' labor. While the buying and selling of enslaved melanin-rich people may no longer be legal, the exploitation of melanin-rich people labor continues in different forms. In the Jim Crow era, melanin-rich workers were often paid less than their white counterparts for doing the same work. Even after the civil rights movement, melanin-rich workers continue to face discrimination and unequal treatment in the workplace. The economic disparities that exist between us and white Americans can be seen in the wealth gap, the income gap, and the disparities in access to education and healthcare. These disparities are a direct result of the historical exploitation of Black labor and the systemic racism that has persisted in white American society. To white American businesses, Black Friday emphasizes consumerism and excessive spending, a symbol of the materialism and greed that has fueled the exploitation of Black labor throughout global history. The rush to buy the latest gadgets and gizmos at discounted prices blinds many to the darker realities of America's past and present. When participating in white America's Black Friday shopping, it is important to remember the history of exploitation and oppression that lies behind the holiday. We must strive to be conscious melanin-rich culture consumers, mindful of the impact of our purchases on marginalized communities. By supporting Black-owned businesses and advocating for fair wages and working conditions for our melanin-rich culture workers, we can work towards a more just and equitable society for us as well. Black Friday is a day that is infamous for its consumerism and mass shopping frenzy. However, for many in our melanin-rich culture community, Black Friday has a deeper significance. It is a day to remember and honor the ancestors who were enslaved and forced into labor during one of the darkest periods in American history. The history of Black Friday and the unfavorable legacy of chattel enslavement of the ancestors are intertwined. Chattel enslavement was a system of forced labor that was implemented in the United States from the 17th century until the end of the Civil War in 1865. During this time, millions of Alkebulan, called Africa, men, women, and children were stolen, captured, sold, and forced to work on plantations in brutal and inhumane conditions. Our enslaved ancestors were treated as property, with no rights or autonomy over their own bodies nor lives. The legacy of chattel enslavement continues to impact our melanin-rich communities in profound ways. The trauma and dehumanization experienced by our enslaved ancestors have been passed down through generations, leading to systemic inequalities and injustices that persist to this day. Black Friday, with its emphasis on consumerism and material wealth, is seen by our melanin-rich culture people as a stark reminder of the exploitation and oppression faced by our enslaved ancestors. In response to this unfavorable legacy, we have chosen to reclaim Black Friday as a day of remembrance and reflection. One way that we honor our enslaved ancestors is by wearing all black or Alkebulan, African, attire on that day. This act of solidarity and mourning serves as a powerful symbol of resistance against the commercialization of a day that holds deep historical significance for our melanin-rich culture community. Wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, on each and every Friday is a way to center the experiences and struggles of our enslaved ancestors in the collective memory of our melanin-rich culture community. It is a way to acknowledge the pain and suffering endured by those who came before us, and to pay tribute to their resilience and strength in the face of unimaginable hardship. By wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, we are making a statement about the importance of remembering and honoring the sacrifices made by our enslaved ancestors in the fight for freedom and justice. In addition to wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, some of us also choose to participate in melanin-rich culture community events and gatherings on Friday to commemorate the unfavorable legacy of chattel enslavement forced upon the ancestors. These events may include karamus, educational workshops, film screenings, panel discussions, and performances that explore the history of chattel enslavement and its ongoing impact on society. By coming together in solidarity, we are able to connect with our shared history and draw strength from the collective struggle for liberation. Ultimately, wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, on Friday is a powerful act of resistance and remembrance. It is a way to honor the sacrifices of our enslaved ancestors and to challenge the dominant narrative of consumerism and materialism that defines the day. By reclaiming Black Friday as a day of reflection and commemoration, we are asserting our agency and reclaiming our history. In doing so, we are forging a path towards healing and liberation for ourselves and future generations. The history of Black Friday is deeply intertwined with the dark, unfavorable legacy of chattel enslavement of the ancestors and the exploitation of their labor. As we engage in white holiday shopping, let us remember the struggles and sacrifices of our ancestors and work towards building a more equitable society for us as well. By acknowledging the past and working towards a better future, we can honor the legacy of those who came before us. Wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, every Friday is a way to honor and remember the ancestors who suffered through chattel enslavement. By wearing black or Alkebulan, African attire, we are paying tribute to the millions of our enslaved ancestors who experienced unimaginable suffering and violence during this dark period in global history. It serves as a way to acknowledge and remember the hardships and struggles that our enslaved ancestors endured, as well as to show solidarity and respect for their memory. Furthermore, wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, on Fridays is a form of resistance against the consumerism and commercialization that surrounds the day. It is a way to counter the focus on material possessions and shopping deals, and instead, shift the attention towards a more meaningful and reflective observance of our historical past. Overall, wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, on Fridays is a powerful and symbolic gesture that aims to honor the legacy of the ancestors, raise awareness about the history of chattel enslavement, and foster a sense of unity and remembrance within our community. Here are 4 ways that wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, every Friday brings attention to the history of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors, oppression and injustice experienced by our beloved ancestors. 1. Symbolism. Wearing all black or Alkebulan, African attire, on Friday serves as a symbol of mourning and remembrance for the suffering and injustice experienced by our enslaved ancestors. It will raise awareness about the dark history of chattel enslavement and the ongoing impact of systemic racism. 2. Solidarity. By choosing to wear all black or alkebulan, African attire, we show our solidarity with our melanin-rich culture community and stand against oppression and injustice. It is another powerful way to show our support for the organizations like the Black Lives Matter movement and other social justice causes. 3. Education. Wearing all black or alkebulan, African attire, on Fridays serves as a conversation starter and a way to educate others about the history of chattel enslavement and its lasting effects on our melanin-rich people. It will prompt discussions about the need for racial justice and equity. 4. Visibility. Wearing all black or alkebulan, African attire, makes a statement and draws attention to the struggles and challenges we face in America and abroad, both historically and in the present day. It amplifies the voices of our melanin-rich people who have been marginalized and oppressed. 5. Empowerment. By intentionally choosing to wear all black or alkebulan, African attire, we reclaim the narrative of Black Friday and using it as a platform to raise awareness about the impact of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors and racism on society. It is a way to empower and uplift our melanin-rich culture nation. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin. We trust that you have expanded your understanding through the insights shared by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University, in our Mandatory Mental Liberation Series message titled, What Black Friday and Blackout Friday Actually Means to Our Melanin-Rich Culture Families. Remember this, it is essential to honor the ancestors. We have a unique connection to the ancestors. They endured many unwarranted struggles, preserved our melanin-rich culture, and passed down invaluable wisdom through many generations. By honoring the ancestors, we pay honorable tribute to our roots and draw great strength and much-needed inspiration from the unwavering resilience and royal legacy that has paved the way for our present and future generations. Ancestral reverence is a powerful way for us to continually uphold our own melanin-rich identity, heritage, and cultural legacy. Here is an ancient alkebulan proverb to keep in mind. If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have not spent the night with a mosquito. Remember this as well, whenever you are in the presence of anyone, saying, they don't see color, it actually means they don't see you. As a member of our melanin-rich culture, you must strive for knowledge of self for greater personal awareness. Always treat yourself kindly and seek to live a totally awesome and gloriously fulfilling melanin-rich culture life. So, like, subscribe, and share this very special melanin-rich culture link with everyone that you care about and that really cares about you and all of yours as well, and thank you for listening. Ashe.